Very excited to be able to share a first look at Connections V8 and our roadmap beyond that. We've been working on this release for a little while now in terms of designing it and planning it out. And we're starting to move forward from there. And want to take this time to be able to share our early designs for what we expect it to look like and the type of features that we're going to have in there. I'll give our usual disclaimer that, and you'll see on all the pages, this is subject to change, but want to be upfront in sharing all of this with you. So real briefly, there has really never been a better time, more demand for a product like Connections. If you're here, chances are you're using it already. You've seen the value of it, but I just want to reiterate, you're in the right place at the right time, because we're seeing a lot of everybody pretty much this past year looked to a lot of virtual tools. They rolled out Teams or Zoom or Same Time, as a way of connecting people online when they're all suddenly working remotely. But that's really only part of the picture. So you really need a platform like Connections that can provide for that asynchronous collaboration, a way of bringing people together around common tasks, a way of providing structure and organization to the collaboration, the teamwork, the departmental discussions that need to happen, and do all of that in a way that is open and discoverable and can lead to the kind of sharing that's really critical for companies to be as responsive to their customers as they need to be able to ideate and grow and innovate the way that's required now more than ever, and to do so in a way that can capture that knowledge for longer term use, and do so in a way that really engages employees. And this is something we're seeing. We're seeing, analysts are seeing when they're surveying and talking to customers and companies out there, that the CEO and the senior level executives have collaboration and engagement top of mind in a way they really haven't before. Again, that really speaks right to where our focus with Connections has been. So with that, let's jump right into our roadmap. As a brief recap, Connections 6.5 focused on adoption and engagement with capabilities like touchpoints, sidebar, highlights, and invite. After that came Connections 7 that focused on integration and repeatable success, the tailored experience updates to communities, and being able to create templates and reuse and repurpose those best practices and spread them throughout the organization, as well as integration with the Microsoft ecosystem that we heard from so many of you that was important. Also looking at how we're bringing these capabilities forward and rolling out and continuing to enhance our partner-led cloud for those of you who want a hosted option for Connections. So from there, we're looking at Connections 8 that is going to focus on the user experience. And as you'll see coming up, this includes not only a new user experience framework and navigation for it, but also enhancements to key areas like search, ability to upload and share inside of Connections, and a focus on usability and consistency. So looking at a high level of what Connections 8 will deliver, our goal really is to deliver at market-leading user experience. And so that includes focusing on things like improving the navigation so that it's easier than ever for users to navigate through Connections, find what they're looking for, quickly get to where they're going, quickly find the information, the content, or the people that they need, and do so in a consistent way so that when you're looking for something, what you click on takes you where it expects to go. And you don't find yourself lost where you're 3 clicks down and suddenly you don't know where you came from, you can't get back. You click on something and it kind of takes you off somewhere you weren't expecting to go. So all of that is the first key focus for the release. Next, there are 2 key pillars for any kind of collaboration, especially a social collaboration platform like Connections. One is search and the other is sharing, right? You want to be able to find things and get where you're going, and you want to be able to share things to spread that information. And so those are the next two key focus areas for this release, giving you fast access to the information, the communities, the expertise that you need through a centrally located search bar, as well as improving the search experience overall. And then really helping you increase information velocity so that ideas, information, best practices can easily spread and go viral inside of the organization through pervasive sharing tools and experience. So let's start with navigation and what this looks like. Our goal here is to really put a focus on consistency so that, you, as I said, you know where you are, you know where you want to go, and it'll be very obvious even to new users of Connections, what you want to click on and what you want to do to get there. So a couple of things you'll notice here across the top, we've got search front and center in that top navigation bar. It will always be there. And you'll notice that that's a design that's very similar to a lot of other applications that are out there today. And overall, you'll see the design that we're doing here will be consistent. Now we're going forward with other solutions from HCL Digital Solutions and elsewhere in HCL. So across the top, you have the search bar. Like Connections today, you'll be able to customize the colors here. You'll be able to bring in your own logo and your own branding, which we know a lot of you have done already. So you'll be able to continue with that. Over on the left, we have the main navigation. So that's been moved to the left now. We've elevated things like files as front and center here. We know that communities, profiles, and files are the three most used applications and capabilities within Connections. Files used to be a little bit more buried. You had to go to the apps menu and then get to it. So this is now front and center. That more button will slide out a panel with additional capabilities there. And then you can see the link to notifications, profiles, and help down on the bottom left. If you have mail integrated in here, you'll see a mail icon down there on the bottom left. And like today, all of this is customizable. So if you have other applications or your own company-specific applications that you want to bring in, you'll be able to do that on the navigation on the left as well. And then over on the right, you have the Important to Me bar, which we elevated from being a feature only in the Orient Me. That will now be available throughout Connections. We're updating some of the uses for that and what happens when you use it. And I'll get to that a little bit more later on. And then the last thing to highlight, and you'll see some of this in some of the other screenshots coming up, in addition to the overall framework that you see here for the navigation, the second and third level navigations will be consistent as well. So whether you're in a community or blogs or wikis or files, just updating that UI a bit so that it is consistent, so that users will always know where to go if they want to filter or switch tabs for the view that they're in. That will all be available there. So the next key feature, as I mentioned, the key pillar for Connections is search. So that centrally located search bar is not only much more prominent than it has been in the past, but we've updated the way it works and how you interact with it. So first up, when you just click in the search bar, let me blow that up a little bit, you'll see links to recent searches and recently visited content. We know very often in a tool like Connections, you want to run a search again, right? You searched for it yesterday or earlier in the day, you want to go bring up those results again, or you just want to jump to a page that you were on and you use frequently. And so you'll be able to do that right from that search bar, so it'll always be present there. And you can see you can also jump to more results here. If you want to see all your recent searches or all those recently visited pages, you'll be able to do that there. So that's the starting place when you click in the search bar. When you start typing, it'll present context-sensitive searches. So let's say you are in a wiki in a community, it'll prompt you with one click to be able to search for your term in that wiki, and then from there ladder on up to that community and then all content in Connections. So they can make it very easy to get that context search that you're looking for or expand it back out. A lot of times you want to search in that community or you want to search all content, you just happen to be on a wiki page. We don't want you to have to navigate somewhere else to do that search or have to go run the search and then start filtering it from there. You can do it right with a click here. It will also come up with quick results for communities or people, so that if you start typing in a community name or the name of a person, you'll see them in that result right there. Again, saving you that step of getting to the search results page and then looking for them. And you'll also be able to quickly search and run a context search for files as well. Looking at the search results, so if you want to search in all content or just your community, or you want to search in files and blogs and limit it to just there, you'll be able to do that here. We updated the look and feel a bit to make it a bit more modern, easier to kind of glance through and find what you're looking for. And then we're also going to be presenting the search results as an overlay shadow box, so you can very easily get back to where you were once you find the results. We know today, especially if you're searching inside of a community, you may find that you're getting a little bit lost in the navigation. It can be a bit confusing. You can get the search results. You want to switch from communities results to all results. And now suddenly you find yourself off somewhere and aren't quite sure how to get back to where you were before. So we're looking to simplify all of that there. And I do see some of the, by the way, I do see some of the questions coming in the chat and Q&A, and I'll look to get to them at the end here. So search, as I said, is one of the key elements here. The other is the ability to upload and share more easily inside Connections, right? The whole goal here should be to spread information, to share it, to help other people discover what's important or might be new inside of the network here. And sharing is a key feature when you look at other platforms that we all use in our consumer lives, like Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn. We want to make it just as easy to share content inside of Connections as well. And so we're doing that by adding a share icon that will all be ever present on every page here, that will let you share the page you're looking at inside of Connections. We're also adding share icons or share links on things like blog posts. Right today, there are options for sharing in the blog post with others on your team. You can tag them in the comments, which really is not the right use case for you or the right use of comments. Or you can share it in an email, which really just kind of subverts the whole purpose of a tool like Connections, where you should be sharing and keeping content and making things discoverable inside of the platform itself. So whether you share it from a link there or share it from the icon on the top, you'll be able to go in. We'll give you a picker, so you can pick the people you work with most closely, or type in their names and multi-select from there. And then it will share it inside of Connections. They'll get a notification in their activity feed that you shared something with them. And that you've just helped spread knowledge inside your organization. You'll notice we're also moving the share on Teams into here with Connection 7. We introduced an integration point with a kind of a freestanding logo overlaid on the Connections UI. We're going to consolidate all of that in here. And we're looking to have a similar pattern available for sharing on SameTime, for example, so that you can go and easily share content into a chat tool as you like. Next to that, you'll see an upload icon. Again, we have not always made it as easy as it should be to upload new content and share it inside of Connections. It is possible today. We do have that share functionality up on the top nav bar. I think it's kind of a well-hidden secret for a lot of people. I don't think it sees a lot of use today, both because it's not as prominent as it should be, and because the actual UI, once you go there, requires a few too many clicks and isn't quite as, it requires a bit more concentration to find things and select things than it might need. So we're looking to update that capability, but again, both putting the icon more prominent on the page, as well as streamlining the flow, the user flow, so that it's very easy to just drag and drop your file or go add your file, choose who you're sharing it with, and be on your way. Again, the whole goal is to make it easier to get content into Connections where it can be found, stored, commented on, and collaborated around into the future. Moving on to the important to me bar. This was a capability we introduced in Connection 6 with Orient Me as a way of quickly interacting with and seeing the people and communities you work with the most. And we're elevating this here to be a kind of a frontline capability in the Connections UI, because we think it has a lot of promise beyond just that Orient Me page. One comment here, this is our design mock-up. You will be able to fit more than just 6 icons on the page once it's actually released and at the screen resolution most people use. Like today, you'll be able to pin people or contacts that you use frequently in here. We are updating the modality a bit in terms of what happens when you click on it, or some of the quick icons that come up, so you can quickly go to their profile, start a chat, or connect with them. And you'll see we're also giving a long overdue refresh to the business card that you'll see when you hover over somebody on their important to me bar or anywhere you have that live name inside of Connections. And the goal here is to elevate the functions that you use most often, like, for example, jumping right to the files that that person has shared, as well as making it easy to get to other capabilities like going seeing forum posts or their bookmarks or so on. So again, a lot of this is coming through not just the things you see here, but going a level or two deeper in terms of the UI updates here. And then the last piece I want to call out in the Connections 8 roadmap is the update to the homepage experience. So we released Orient Me with that tile view, bringing the intelligence in terms of what's most important to you in terms of top updates, being able to quickly filter it down with the important to me bar. We saw a lot of positive feedback on it, but we also heard that there were capabilities that didn't come forward from the traditional activity stream into Orient Me. And we also know that that tile interface is not something that works for everybody. It certainly has its uses, it has its advantages, but that kind of tile view works better for some situations than others. And going through and trying to really read updates and who commented and who made a post I might be interested in doesn't work for everyone in that format. At the same time, we came out with that because we knew that the old activity stream, the traditional activity stream, was a bit dated and has its drawbacks as well, along with its advantages. And so what we're going to be doing with Connections 8 is bringing the best of all worlds together here. So we're going to maintain that tile view, possibly with some updates for the top updates on the homepage. And then we're going to bring some of the other views in as tabs, so that you can quickly jump to the traditional activity stream as well with the full capabilities that it's always had. Again, giving that a little bit of a facelift and a design refresh to make it easier to read, easier to parse as you're scrolling through the screen. So that'll be the second tab on the homepage experience. The third tab will be the Discover page, which exists today. So you can see what else is going on inside your organization, see what communities or people you might want to be connecting with that Connections will recommend for you, and really helping that discoverability. And then the fourth tab will be the My View page, which is available today as a kind of a sub-menu item. We're not sure how many people are actually using it, in part because it's hidden. And this gives you a dashboard view into what's going on inside of the Connections and your Connections applications. And so again, we're going to be elevating that as a fourth tab on that homepage experience. So that, again, the whole goal is to give you an easy way of switching between these four modes, so you can pick what works best for you, set the default to whatever you want of them, but really have the way, kind of the best of all worlds when you're viewing what's going on inside of Connections and your network. So that's a summary of where we are with Connections 8. With Connections 7 and Connections 8, there was enough we wanted to do that would have been hard to break it up into smaller pieces. There are also economies of scale that come with doing one release versus CRs. And with Connections 6, we found we could break up those capabilities small enough and test them individually enough that it made sense to say, okay, here's a files updates, here's a communities update, and so on. With 7 and 8, it made sense to group them together. It didn't really make sense to try to break apart pieces of it. Connections 9 is going to be focused on a couple of key aspects, going back to some of the core functionality around communities and strengthening communities as the real central component that makes Connections unique, and that we've heard is really the fundamental piece, the backbone really of deployments for all of you. And that is to say, we haven't really talked about the release process for this. It's possible some of these might be able to be done as a CR where we're focusing on one piece at a time. So it's possible it might work for that, but more likely than not, we'll see a major release instead. But diving a little bit deeper into what would be coming next, is focusing on things like management, and that includes life cycle management um, of the community, both in terms of setting it up, but especially in terms of archiving it. We've heard that request a lot of make it easy for administrators to go through, see what hasn't been used, see what's untouched, and be able to retire and archive or delete those older communities, either just to kind of clear up the space, or for compliance reasons, you don't want 2, 3, 4-year-old communities sitting out there. So that's something we're looking at. We're also looking at membership management. There have been a lot of ideas in AHA around member management, around notification management. And so looking at how to take a holistic view at all of those to go and make it easier for the community owners to manage membership, as well as for individual members to manage, individual users to manage what communities they're members of, as well as more granular control on the notifications they want to see, for example, for the communities they belong to. Integration will be another key piece here. So creating common patterns of integration for across connections so that you can manage, we talked about chat a little bit, integration, or integrating meeting, third-party applications, HCL applications like Domino Volt, and others. Again, making it very easy to bring them into your communities, into connections, so you have just one place to work, one place to see notifications, and get away from all of the context switching that's required today to manage the often dozens of applications we all interact with on a regular basis. And then the last piece is around the focus on the actual applications and engagement in general. So there is no shortage of really good ideas that have come in through AHA around improvements to files, wikis, blogs, forums, and the other applications. And we've been actively reviewing them and prioritizing them and seeing how we can create a package that we could pull into a release to add those capabilities, fix the deficiencies, and go deeper on some of the things that you all want to see in terms of those applications. Engagement Center is another one. It's not called out here, but that we'll be looking at in terms of improving navigation, continuing to improve the customization and layout capabilities of that, both as a standalone application as well as for the highlights pages. And so those are the key areas that we're looking to focus on moving out beyond Connections 8. And just to kind of give you an overall view here of where we're going, and stay here as I look at additional questions that have come in. There's a question about direct path to migrate side by side from 6.0 to 8.0. We haven't quite gone there yet in terms of getting the details together. We know a lot of you have just this year upgraded to 6 or 6.5. Hopefully you'll be rolling out 7.0 this year. We know historically a lot of you don't do every year integrate upgrades, and that may mean you may be going right from a 6.x to an 8.0. And we will certainly keep that in mind as we're looking at the rollout pattern and our documentation for that. Hopefully you heard Juanis talk about it earlier. We're continuing to update the Ansible scripts for the rollouts. Hopefully, if you haven't tried it yet, you take a look at it, because it can literally get your connections deployment down to a couple of hours. And if nothing else, get Connection 7 set up in a testing environment so you can see the new capabilities. The tailored experience updates can be really critical for your communities. If you're using Microsoft Teams or SharePoint in your organization, being able to integrate that in for your users can be really valuable as well. So would encourage you to check that out. And just some links here for more information. We've got the preview environment is still available for Connection 7 if you want to try it out and don't have easy way of rolling it out internally. We've got the video of the Connection 7 and the integration and all the capabilities there. Would encourage you to check it out there as well. And hopefully you know where to find me. I don't think I have a business card page up here. But I'm adam.gartenberg@hcl.com. If you ever have questions, if you want one-on-one briefings for you and your colleagues, or if there's anything else we can answer, please be in touch.